Hey guys, welcome to CM Rankings and Reviews, and today I'm planning on a lengthier video. I created a theme song. It is cheesy. I'm only going to be reviewing, I'm only going to be playing my theme song, not on the reviews, but on like every other video that I have. It is cheesy because I just created it on iMovie and I'm not going to pay for anything. Today I'm going to be doing Dreamworks versus Pixar. So these are two of some of the best animated studios of my opinion. I'm going to be comparing them, and at the end I'm going to tell you which one I like better. And let's dive right in. Let's start with the nostalgia. Yes, I am still a kid, but when I talk about nostalgia, I'm talking about from like 3 on up. Like when I was in between 3 and like 8 years old, these movies really stood out for me. So I'm going to start with Dreamworks. For Dreamworks, I actually have a lot of nostalgia with, like Kung Fu Panda and Kung Fu Panda 2. And then we have the original Madagascar, because the second Madagascar, if you watched my video before when I was ranking all 3 of the Dreamworks franchises, you know I'm not a fan of the second Madagascar. Therefore, that one does not have any nostalgia for me because I did not watch that movie a lot as a kid. I remember when I was sick, I put it in because I had nothing better to do. That's like the only time I really watched it, and sometimes I just feel like to watch Morton, Maurice, and King Julian, so I put that in. Otherwise, I don't really watch that movie that much. That's why I only have the original Madagascar. I also have Rise of the Guardians and Monsters vs. Aliens. I always used to watch Monsters vs. Aliens on the way to my grandma's house. And I feel like every time I went to my grandma's house, I'd watch that in the car. And I actually really like that movie. And I still do. I actually really like that movie. And then we have Rise of the Guardians, which is one that I would get a lot. And then I bought it, and I watch it a lot. I think every 2 weeks I put it in because I just really like Rise of the Guardians. I actually love it, and I'm thinking of posting a review for for Rise of the Guardians. Let's move on to the Pixar movies that have nostalgia for me. This list is stat. I only have Bugs Life, Cars, and Cars 2. You're going to say oh no, Cars 2, that movie sucks, and the first Cars isn't that good, and Bugs Life isn't that good. These 3 movies I watched a lot at my daycare. And yeah, that's all I really get from Pixar. I feel like Pixar doesn't, the movies, the Cars franchise really appeal to younger kids. I think the Toy Story appeal to a little older kids, but then you have movies like WALL-E that is more for adults. I feel like kids get bored. I get bored during that movie. That's really all I have to say for nostalgia-wise for Pixar. DreamWorks, I think, won that round for nostalgia. So now I'm going to talk about the studios where they had really close movies to each other. First I'm going to talk about Shark Tale and Finding Nemo, and then I'm going to talk about Ants and Bugs Life. So, starting with Shark Tale and Finding Nemo, Shark Tale actually has nostalgia for me, so I forgot to put it in that list. But other than that, Shark Tale, I think the animation is ugly. Finding Nemo, though, is a great movie. It just doesn't have the rewatchability of Shark Tale, but the animation is way better. The fish design is better. I'm not a fan of how in Shark Tale, the fish are like humans. They move like humans. They look like they're actors, especially Will Smith and Martin Scorsese or whatever his name is. It's not pleasant to look at. But it is a lot more funnier than Finding Nemo and rewatchable. So you have that. but the animation is really does a lot to a movie. So for that round, I have to give Finding Nemo. And when I do these rounds, whoever wins the most rounds, it does not determine the winner. I just decided to do rounds for the fun of it. Ants versus A Bug's Life. Here's the problem. I haven't watched Ants, but I really love A Bug's Life. And for Bug's Life, this is kind of like a short review of Bug's Life. I love that movie. I have it on VHS. This movie, I know like adults don't really like it, and like other YouTubers say that they really liked it as a kid, but then when they got older, they found it stupid. As I'm getting older, I do tend to see that Bug's Life gets like a little worse every time you watch it. But I haven't seen Ants, so I can't give it to that yet. But I read somewhere that Jeffrey Katzenberg, I think, got fired from Pixar, and then he heard that they were going to do Bug's Life, so he wanted to create a movie like Ants. I do not like copycat movies, and Ants has worse animation. I'm sorry. I know it's Dreamworks' first movie, but it's just ugly animation. So I have to give this round to A Bug's Life. Maybe when I watch Ants, which I probably won't, but if I do, I think that might switch. But I know a lot of people like Bug's Life better than whatever I was going to say. Ants. Up next is the cast. This is where it gets complicated because Dreamworks has better casting because Pixar will just get like good actors for like the main roles, but then like the supporting roles are just by like these actors you never heard of before, like these really low-class actors. But when you go into Dreamworks, the main actors are still really like great, and they are like really popular actors, but like the minor actors are really good too. Take Monsters vs. Aliens for instance. It has John Krasinski or something, whatever, playing like a minor character that is only in it for like a minute, and I love his work in The Office, and he's funny, and he also plays Lancelot in Shrek 3, and I think that's a good use of a side character's voice actor. They did it kind of for Kung Fu Panda. Monkey, I know he's a main character, but they got Jackie Chan, the whole Furious 5. Well cast, we have Angelina Jolie, Lucy Liu, Seth Rogen, David Cross, and Jackie Chan. Great cast, guys. And then we go into Pixar. And who do we have? Okay, let's take Good Dinosaurs, probably their worst casting. You have some good actors, but then you go into like the main character. Arlo. You may have heard of him from iCarly. Other than that, no clue. They do have Steve Zahn and they do have Sam Elliott. I gotta give them credit for that. But it's just not that good. I mean, the casting is good in most Pixar movies, but then you have other Pixar movies that aren't so good. I mean, like the Cars franchise, you have Cheech Marin and Tony Shalhoub, whatever his name is, Jennifer Lewis, and that's really all. And then for like minor characters, I love the cast. I think Pixar has the better casting for the main roles, but I am a bigger fan of the supporting roles, and therefore this round, and they have better. Dreamworks has better casting for like the supporting roles, just to get like their names in, like those big named actors in their movies. I have to give for the cast. I have to give Dreamworks that round. Moving into animation. Animation. This is fun to talk about because some people, if the animation sucks and they don't have a good story, they don't like that movie. But Pixar has good animation, and yet the movies with the weak stories are still good because they have good animation. Does that make sense? I don't think that makes very much sense to me, because to me, you have to have an engaging story. You can't just have good animation. Yeah, animation is pleasant to the eye, but like The Hotel Transylvania series, I like the animation. It adds a little sprinkle. It adds like sprinkles to your ice cream. It's a little nice touch, but the story and the characters really make the movie. I could care less about the animation. DreamWorks, I think, Rise of the Guardians, Peabody and Sherman, these movies have good animation, people. But then we go into Pixar and they try to make things really realistic. But if I want realistic, I'll watch a live action movie. If I want animation in like a cartoony movie, I want cartoony. I don't want realistic. I don't want it to be like takes away from the plot because the animation is so good. So I have to give this round to DreamWorks just for its outstanding. I know Pixar said a lot of stuff with like the fur of Sully in the water and Finding Nemo, but I remember what I said. I could care less about the animation, and just wait. So now I'm going to talk about the consistency of the movies. Yay! Pixar, really consistent. I mean, except for Cars 2 and Brave. Other than that, I think Pixar is big time, 21 movies, and they're all just perfect movies, except for a couple. And then we go in DreamWorks, and DreamWorks, I think, has 36 now. This is interesting because a lot of people aren't a fan of Monsters vs. Aliens or the Madagascar franchise, which I'm surprised with. Movies like Boss Baby really screw up the timeline of having good, consistent movies. And I think there's other movies in the studio that also bring it down a little. But there's also, once in a while, they'll come out with a really good movie like Captain Underpants and Kung Fu Panda and all of those great movies. And How to Train Your Dragon. Again, these are great movies that they come out with. And I think their best, like, original movie, I think, is like Captain Underpants. Trolls is really good, too. And I watched the trailer for the sequel, and I think that movie's going to suck really bad. I don't think it's good. Yeah, now I'm going to have to give you the winner. And before I do this, I love both of these studios very much. I love talking about these movies, especially DreamWorks, just because they have more to talk about. My winner is, drumroll please, DreamWorks. Yes. In the comment section, I am probably going to get a lot of grief about choosing DreamWorks, but again, DreamWorks has better nostalgia, I think. The animation I prefer over Pixar. I'm sorry, guys, but you have to be reasonable with me on my decision because, well, I grew up with DreamWorks movies, and the Pixar movies are just don't really appeal for littler kids, except for like the Cars franchise and the Toy Story and maybe Bugs Life. So there you have it. There's my DreamWorks versus Pixar. I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe down below. Come again soon.